Good morning. What day is it? Tuesday. Oh my gosh, it is the
There you
day after
go.
Monday Night Football. Welcome on into Let's Bet It. I've been on the road now for 9 straight days, and I am like
Wow.
losing track of what city I'm in and what time of the day it is. But you know what? We got a Let's Bet It show presented by Superbook Sports. Lauren Jabara here with Jared Smith. Jared, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I was gonna ask you how was your Halloween, if you had any costumes that you were proud about. But I'm assuming based off of that previous statement, you've been on the road for 9 straight days, you've just been going as a sports NBA reporter for the last week or so.
Yes.
Costumes
Yeah, the Hawks
out the
played
window.
last night and they got their butts whooped. They got their butts whooped last night
Oh,
in Toronto. And then we flew from Toronto to New York last night, landed around
oh,
3
so you do
a.m.,
custom.
got to our hotel
Where are
around
you staying in New York?
3:40.
Where are you in the city?
We are staying. Yeah, we're in the
Not the
city. Yeah,
exact
we're in the city.
location. You
It's
don't need to give me
great.
the address, just like the vicinity.
Yeah,
I
to
don't
be
want the
honest with you, I don't
freakos
even
coming to
know.
your hotel,
No,
but
to be honest with you, I don't even know where we're staying right now. The bus takes us to the hotel, and I got out and passed
they
out
just
around
put you in the
4 a.m.
trunk and
last night.
took you
So,
off. You didn't even pay attention. Okay, that's
yeah,
fair.
totally,
What's your all right?
totally.
Fine. So how
But
about
we
we
have a
pivot to this?
lot to get
What's
to
your favorite
today.
Halloween candy? Did you eat any candy yesterday at least?
Ooh, no, I didn't eat any candy. How lame.
No
How
candy, no
stinking lame.
costumes, no
But
nothing.
Reese's,
Wow,
no candy, no. It didn't even feel like Halloween, to be honest with you. A couple of players
that's a
dressed up for the
shame.
game, which was kind of fun.
That
But
is fun.
Reese's or Take Five would probably be my go-to. How about you?
Take five. That's one I
So
wouldn't
good.
have
It's
expected.
underrated.
Isn't that the one that has
Underrated.
the pretzel in it?
Yeah, heck yeah, it is.
Wow, that's
Mm-hmm.
super. That I like that. I
Yeah.
think I'll be honest, I've been
What's
kind
your
of
favorite?
vacillating back and forth between gummy and chocolate the last like year or so, like at the top. I've been
Yeah,
really into these sour cherries that I get at the store lately. Those have been good. You know, the sour cherry chews. They're kind of like Sour Patch
totally. I
Kids, but
love
they're like
those.
all cherry flavor. And then the other one that I
Mm.
really like, I mean, listen, I'm a simple man. Hershey bar with almonds or peanut butter, like Reese's, like chocolate, peanut butter, any combination of that, any candy that has that combination, it's perfect.
Good. I absolutely love it.
Yeah,
I love
I'm,
it.
I'm a simple man with simple tastes.
Speaking of candy, speaking of candy, the Browns ate yesterday in
Ooh.
Ohio. We're going to get to that Monday Night Football reaction. We have stock up, stock down for NFL Week 8. And then we have our good old friends coming on the show today from PFF, Sam Monson, to talk all the way through 8 weeks of NFL football to this point. Because there's been a lot going on. Things are kind of leveling out, I guess you would say, this week. So without further ado, let's get right into it and let's bet it. Reactions from the Bengals taking on the Browns. It was a battle of Ohio that actually wasn't much of a battle. And to be honest with you, the final score made it look like the Bengals were in it longer than they actually were. They were dominated basically for 4 straight quarters. They were able to get a couple scores in that fourth quarter, but that doesn't offset the fact with how bad the first, second, and third quarters went. Nothing went right for the Bengals, Jared. They now turn around, play the Panthers on a short week before the bye, and they're 0-3 right now in the AFC North. Your thoughts on the Bengals' performance or lack thereof?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. We talked about the game on at Playbook on Wednesday, and I had a very different
Mm-hmm.
feeling of that game before the Jamar Chase news came out later in the week. Once Jamar Chase was announced out, the line honestly
Yeah,
didn't really move a whole lot. It did come off of the 3.5 to 3, I would say Sunday night, Monday morning. But after the Jamar Chase news was announced, I think it was Friday. You had several days to bet the Browns at 3.5. I even got a 3.5 at -110 here in town at one of the smaller shops Monday morning, like early. So there were opportunities to get Cleveland at a favorable number even after the Jamar Chase news was announced. But let's be honest, it's hard to take this Bengals offense at the same starch, the
yeah,
same level without Jamar Chase. Clearly, he is a guy that makes Joe Burrow feel a lot more comfortable because Joe did not look very comfortable last night. But that's also
no,
because the Cleveland front line. Listen, this was a Browns defensive line last year that was very good, and they hadn't shown it
mm-hmm.
this year, really. Their defense was underperforming until last night. It took this Ohio rivalry to kind of stir up the loins of this Cleveland defense, which played very well last night. And you also have to give a lot of credit to Jacoby Brissett, who was fantastic yesterday. The nerd numbers I'm looking at right now are off the charts. 25% CPOE, completion percentage over expectation. I mean, he was arguably the best game he's ever played in his entire career last night. So very good job across the board. The Browns were able to run the ball. The Bengals rushing defense, that's been the weakness without DJ Reader. They haven't fully, adapted to that yet. They should get Reader back at some point. This was just a bad spot for Cincinnati. It really was. And I was fortunate enough to get 3.5 with Cleveland Monday morning, and I cashed a ticket, which was nice. Sadly, I couldn't share with you guys. I wasn't yesterday, but it was a nice win for your boy yesterday. Had a good day. So, but yeah, big Bengals. Yeah, big Bengals, question marks heading into the future now as we get some banged up offensive linemen and and the cornerback, Chidobe Awuzie, also big injury last night.
Their outlook without Jamar Chase is really rough. Don't let the score fool you. They really, really struggled stretching the field. You're right. Joe Burrow looked extremely uncomfortable. As we get into our stock report, stock up, stock down, would you take the Bengals at this point at plus 450 to win the AFC North? Right now they're sitting at 4-4, 0-3 in the AFC North, while the Ravens are at 5-3 at this point.
I wouldn't. So we bet them already a couple times during the early parts of the season in our futures column. I have a unit on them at around 3-1 aggregate price. We also have the Ravens at over 10.5 wins. So we're pretty situated in this AFC North right now. And I think those are the two teams. Like I don't really fully trust Cleveland. I mean, it was a nice win last night, but I need to see more defensively from them before I'm ready to buy in.
Yeah.
And they needed that win so bad. I mean, they'd lost 4 in a row. Like that was like oh man, we just got word. Chidobe Awuzie torn ACL. That's huge.
That's huge.
Yeah. I mean, Rappaport just tweeted it, but it's just funny. They must have heard my ears. Their ears must have been burning, because that was the one thing about the game last night that I was like, not a huge deal for Cincinnati. They can overcome this, but the Awuzie injury is huge. He's their best cover corner. That's a massive injury for them. So now Chase out for another month, and their best cover corner is done for the year, and DJ Reader's their best run stopper is out for a while. So that answers your question. Do not bet the Bengals to win the AFC North. It's not a good bet right now. You're going to get a better price probably soon. The Browns also, totally. I mean, listen to this Browns schedule the next 3 weeks, Lauren. At Dolphins, at Bills, home against the Bucks. Not a lot of upside there either, right? Like, it seems like Baltimore, if they just run away with this division, I think, with their schedule and how they looked on Thursday night, I think Baltimore's going to win the North.
Yeah. I absolutely think Baltimore's going to win that division. They're sitting at 5-3, and they're looking pretty right now. A team that I think is going to win the entire AFC, though, is the Bills. And you could still get it at plus money at this point, at plus 110. Get this while it is still at plus money. They are a complete team in all facets of the game. And what really impressed me about this past weekend, too, is that their line play. They've been incredible. They're generating a pass rush with only 4 players. They're just so stinking good. The addition of Von Miller has been phenomenal for them. Josh Allen is just Josh Allen. He's an MVP for a reason. Bills to win the AFC. Would you take them at this point at plus 110? Because I definitely would.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. It's really hard to argue with their dominance right now for several reasons. Lauren just, talked about all the on-field ones that are absolutely pertinent. Off the field, they're about to get back Tre'Davious White, who's coming back from the ACL. He was activated. He'll be back on the field, hopefully not this week, but soon. They won't need him this week against the Jets. They probably won't need him next week against the Vikings or the Browns in 3 weeks or the Lions. I mean, their schedule, they will be favored by double digits in likely 3 or 4 games down the stretch. Jets twice. They're favored by double digits on the road against the Jets. They're definitely going to be favored by double digits at home against the Jets. Then they play the Lions, the Browns at home. They will likely win every game for the rest of the season. Maybe they drop one. Maybe they finish the year 15-2. So they're a shoo-in basically because they've got the tiebreaker over Kansas City to be the number 1 seed. So
Yeah.
basically what you're saying is you get the number 1 seed at plus money, you get the bye, and then you don't have to play until the divisional round. I mean, I don't see why that bet doesn't have value in my mind when we get to January and they're a 3 or 4 point favorite at home against Kansas City in the AFC Championship game. Maybe it's even closer to 5 or 6. We'll see. But, and if God forbid Kansas City loses and they're facing, you know, someone else who wins like the Ravens, they're going to be a 7 point favorite. So I don't see why that bet doesn't have value. I could absolutely see it flipping to odds on at some point in the next few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Get it while it's still at plus money, people. You heard it here first. What about the Raiders to make the playoffs at this point? It's at 4-1. And Jared, like, I am just so confused by the Las Vegas Raiders. They have playoff caliber talent. How the heck are they still 2-5 on the season? This is the first time since 2014 that they were shut out. They didn't even have a play in the Saints territory until the 2-minute warning at the end of the game. Their offense is the 3rd best scoring offense in the NFL, and they're averaging 27.2 points per game, and they couldn't score at all? Not good. And then their defense is just horrible. They're 26th in the NFL on 3rd down defense. Like, it's just confusing to me. It's confusing to me with the names that they have on their roster that they can't get it going. And they're 2-5.
Get fired up. Don't let me stop you. Keep going.
I'm fired up. Bro.
That's
how I feel.
All right.
Would you take them to make the playoffs right now 4-1? Because I definitely would not.
No, I would not. But here's a but. Against the Jags this week as a pick'em, I would consider that bet. I love betting on teams the week after they get embarrassed. These guys are professionals. I know that they haven't looked good. That was a tough spot in New Orleans on Sunday. The Saints were off the mini bye. They had just been embarrassed the prior week against the Cardinals. How many points did they give up in that game? I think Kyler Murray just scored again on his little video game console. So the end of it's an ebb and flow. The Raiders were facing a pit. Have you ever heard of the circle? Have you ever watched How I Met Your Mother? The Circle of Screaming. I don't know if you've ever seen that show.
Yes.
Fantastic show, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. It all comes full circle.
Exactly.
So the Saints get their butts whipped by the Cardinals. The Saints get 10 days off. They turn around on Sunday, and they beat the crap out of the Raiders. The Jaguars go all – now, the Jaguars might be the ass end of this whole thing because they were overseas in London. Now they have to come back home in another difficult spot, and now they have to face the Raiders, who are really pissed off. So – would I bet the Raiders to make the playoffs? No. The AFC, I think, is very top-heavy, and I think there's much better teams in the AFC. But you're asking me straight pick 'em. The Raiders are basically -1 this week in Jacksonville. Do I think they can bounce back and beat a Jaguars team? Yes. So, again, the futures market doesn't always have value, but there's sometimes other places to find value with buy low teams. The Raiders still have a lot of talent. So I think they beat – we'll talk about this on Playbook more. I think they beat the Jags this week, but I would absolutely not bet this to make the playoffs wager here.
Apparently the GM had a closed-door meeting with Mike McDaniel after that game. They, took him in the office and closed the door, and it was called a closed-door meeting with the GM.
Is that what happens at a closed-door meeting?
I don't know.
Took him in the office and they closed the door.
For me.
That was really funny. Come on, you have to laugh at that. They had a closed door meeting. They took him in the office and they closed the door.
I don't know what that means. Oh, sorry, I said Mike McDaniel. I meant Josh McDaniels. So they brought him into the office and had a closed door meeting with Josh McDaniels. I don't know what happens in a closed door meeting, but it stresses me out and it can't be good. That's all I gotta know because that ain't a good.
I want to have a closed door meeting with you. I'm gonna bring you into my office. I'm gonna close the door, and then we're gonna just meet.
I don't know what that means.
We're going to talk about happy things. We're talking about I'm going to bring up about a take 5 of a Halloween party.
Yeah, I think he got yelled at. Dang it. Yeah, but we'll see if that translates to next week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's take it to the NFC. Falcons to win the NFC South, and I actually just placed a bet on this. Plus 210 for the Falcons to win the NFC South at this point. I put my money on it right now, which I did. This is the ugliest division in the National Football League, but the Falcons have decent pieces in place. They have a versatile rushing attack. Mariota led the team to an offensive explosion in that fourth quarter. They keep games close, too. 6 of the 8 games they've played, Jared, have been decided by 1 score. I know the defense still needs a little bit of help, but Kyle Pitts is stepping up. Thank God for my fantasy team, finally. And the rest of the division doesn't really stand a chance, except maybe the Bucks. This is the time to get the Falcons. I like the way that they are trending, and I dislike the way that the Bucks are trending right now. Plus 210 for them to win the NFC South. I feel pretty good about it.
It's fair. Listen, I think so. You know this because you're a big pony player. You love betting on the horses, I know. The way to make money betting the ponies is to fade the favorite and to get one of the underdogs to the top. And then you could stack your, exactor, trifecta box, however you like to bet it accordingly. The favorite in this particular case, the Bucks, are very vulnerable, I think. And I think that's fair to say. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to see how vulnerable Tampa Bay has been. So now the question is, which of those underlings has the best chance to steal it? I don't mind Atlanta. The problem that I have with Atlanta, and I think this will be the problem for them at some point, it will rear its ugly head. It kind of reared its ugly head on Sunday. The defense is awful. I mean, it is beyond awful to allow PJ Walker and DJ Moore to do what they did, and kind of that game should have been done. Like, they should have lost that game at the gun. And then DJ Moore takes off his helmet and, goes nuts, and Pinheiro misses the extra point. So as much as I love what Arthur Smith has done, and it's very noteworthy, I think for a long-term wager, I would prefer a team with a defense, and that's why New Orleans keeps popping up. Now, the Saints' schedule does not do them any favors. Ravens, Steelers, Rams, Niners, the next 4 weeks. Now they should beat the Steelers, obviously, but they will be dogs in the other 3 games. Maybe against the Rams, they won't be dogs because they're at home. But that's going to be a tough game, obviously. They're still the defending champs, even though they've looked freaking terrible. We can get into the Rams disaster later. Ravens, 49ers, and then at the Bucks first week of December. So this is going to be a really big, month stretch for the Saints. Nice win on Sunday. But I think I would pass on the Falcons right now, and I'd rather bet the Saints just because of the defense. I was really impressed with the Saints. The Saints defense finally showed us something on Sunday, and it's a defense that has a lot of talent. So the NFC South is wide open, though. Honestly, any of the teams besides Carolina, I think, can win it.
Yeah,
it's a really tough division to handicap, frankly, because the Bucks, you would think at some point would play better, but they just lost Shaq Barrett, so their defense is going to take a hit. And Brady's just the witch magic. I'm telling you, it's a thing.
Yeah,
it's a thing.
It's crazy. It really is. Let's go quickly through the Seahawks before we bring in Sam to win the NFC West. Plus 330. Geno Smith continue to impress me. Continue to impress all of us. The Rams look kind of average after winning the Super Bowl last year. I feel like they're a shell of themselves at this point offensively. They might miss the playoffs. Their O-line has no protection for Matt Stafford, and now Cooper Kupp is, albeit they're saying it's not that bad of an injury, but he did hurt his ankle. Who knows how long he's going to be out? The 49ers are really the real challenge. They're figuring things out with Christian McCaffrey. He had a passing touchdown, a rushing touchdown, and a receiving touchdown last game, and they're getting healthier. I think it's going to be down to the Seahawks and the 49ers at the end. Would you bet on the Seahawks at plus 330 to win the NFC West?
No. I like the Niners. We bet the Niners multiple times already. We bet them at plus 180 a month ago. We bet them at plus 130 last week because we kind of thought that they were the better team than the Rams. I love Geno. You know me. Eventually, that defense, which lost another piece, a corner, Neal, on Sunday. I don't know his status, but he had to leave the game with an injury. I think the defense eventually, again, when you're betting long term, I think the defense matters just as much as the quarterback does, as well as the coach. I like the Seattle team. I think the Niners are better. They also have a game in hand because they beat them already. So I would lean Niners here.
I like it. Let's bring in Sam Monson from PFF to talk about the Eagles to win the NFC in general, because I want to get this full-on discussion. We're chatting Week 8 of NFL. Sam Monson, welcome on to the show. You can find him at PFF Sam on Twitter. How are you today? Happy Tuesday.
I'm good. Thanks for having me. How are you guys?
I'm doing well. Thanks for coming on. Okay, so we're talking about stock up, stock down. We talked about the Bills. You could still get them at plus money to win the AFC. What about the Eagles to win the NFC? It's at plus 175 right now. The only undefeated team in football. Jalen Hurts has been playing lights out. They're taking care of the football. I think they only have like 2 turnovers through 7 games, which is incredible. And the next 3 weeks are against the Texans, Commanders, and then Indy. They could go 10-0 to start the season. What do you think?
Yeah, look, I'm a little bit biased by the fact that they were my Super Bowl pick heading into the season, so I'm all on board this Eagles start. I think they're very good. They're one of the three teams right now that looks like they are the class of the NFL. I think you've got Buffalo, Kansas City, and Philadelphia. Those are the three. And, we saw that the Eagles are capable of beating up on teams that they're meant to be much better than, and they can run up a score now. Jalen Hurts is playing at a different level than he's played in the past. And when you look at that schedule, you're right. Not only could they go 10-0, but it's difficult to find losses on that schedule. Like the first real chance I think they have of losing a game comes all the way in week 16 when they face Dallas again.
Wow.
And yeah, okay. Green Bay is somewhere in the middle, week 12, something like that. Tennessee, week 13. You could see that happening. But the Eagles are going to be big favorites in pretty much every single one of these games. And they're going to need like one of those random upsets from nowhere to come up with a loss.
Sam, the NFC is wild right now. It's literally the Wild West. I think anyone outside of Philly, is there anyone in this conference that is going to perform up to expectations at some point this season? It seems like every team, and it feels very unbalanced this year. Usually there's a couple teams in each conference that underachieve. It seems like all of the underachieving teams, Bucks, Packers, Rams, they're all in that NFC conference. They're all teams that have been playoff, Super Bowl, MVP caliber teams, but they're all clustered in that same conference. Is there anyone else, especially those three teams specifically, that's going to reach our expectation at some point this year?
Yeah, the teams that have underachieved, those teams we expected to be NFC contenders and just aren't right now, I think all of them are in trouble, to varying degrees. I think the Rams are basically done with that offensive line, and I can't see an easy fix to that. Green Bay are in a similar boat with their receivers, but there's at least some options there, whether it's OBJ, whether it's, making a last-minute trade before this deadline. Maybe they could sneak something out. And the guys that they have right now are very young. So, they could develop over the course of the year and kind of rescue them by the end of the season. And then the Bucks have just been a mess. Like, again, they might be able to pull out of this tailspin. Tom Brady obviously is the greatest quarterback that the game has seen. Their personnel is not terrible. Unlike the Rams or the Packers who have these glaring problems, there's no reason the Bucks should be this bad, which gives you the glimmer of hope that they can find their way out of it. But really, like right now, it's Philadelphia, obviously the class of that conference. Dallas is the only other team that looks like they could even think about putting it up to Philadelphia and give them a game. Their defense is legit. Dak Prescott is only just back. That offensive line is improving, and the receiving talent is good. So a good game from Dallas, I think, would definitely rival the best teams in the NFL.
Let's take it to the AFC for a second. We talked about the AFC North. Obviously, the Bengals got their butts whooped yesterday, and that score looked a little bit better than how they actually played, just because they were able to score a few points in that fourth quarter. They were dominated in that game. Would you still bet them at this point to win the AFC North, or is it kind of the Ravens division to lose at this point?
I think it's probably the Ravens to lose. The Bengals last year, I think they overachieved, obviously, right? And the thing that people don't want to look at too closely is that this year, even before Jamar Chase went down, it was very similar to last year. They just weren't getting the high end of variance, right? They were kind of come back down to earth. This is what they were a season ago. They were just riding these incredibly explosive plays and getting away with it and getting them in key moments and winning games because of it. So I think we're seeing a much truer reflection of what this Bengals team is. And then you lose Jamar Chase. Now you got to rewind 2 years and think about what this offense looked like before Chase arrived, which is, yeah, we like T. Higgins. He's got some skills. We like Tyler Boyd. He's good. Joe Burrow is obviously a capable quarterback, but it's missing something, right? It doesn't have that one guy that terrifies defenses and sort of changes the dynamic for everybody else. It doesn't have the effect without Jamar Chase there. Now that's exactly what we're seeing. Like this offense without Chase, it's just not the same. And as much as we think the other guys are great, it doesn't work without Jamar Chase in there. So if he's missing, 4 or 5 weeks, those are 4 or 5 weeks where this offense is probably going to struggle, and they're going to be really behind the 8 ball when they finally get everybody back and get a chance to chase Baltimore and try and win this thing.
Yeah, the Awuzie injury, Sam. I don't know if you saw, but it looks like ACL. I mean, that's
Big
crushing,
blow.
especially without Reader. So now you lose your best cover corner, and you're already without your best run stopper. I mean, those are the two things you need in order to survive on defense in this league. Hubbard and Hendrickson have been fantastic this year, and I think they're good players. But that's a big hill for this Bengals team to overcome. To me, I'll be honest. If you asked me to watch the Thursday night game this week, you really need to twist my arm a little bit with this one, Sam. But you've got to pick for Thursday night. It's only Tuesday, but we'll gladly take your Thursday night helpings now. Eagles are going to just roll over this. I mean, this is a tough spot for the Texans, right? This is a bad spot.
Yeah, I think so. We saw, I think, two things last weekend, which is that the Texans are really, really bad right now, and in their defense, they haven't really started this rebuild project yet. They were on hold while they got rid of Deshaun Watson. They finally moved him, but it was so late, sort of in the offseason, they haven't really had a chance to deploy the benefit of that yet. Next season is when we'll start to see the Texans make real moves. But consequently, they're the worst team in the NFL. And they showed that, a team like Tennessee can just come in there, run all over them, even without a plan B. Like Tennessee wasn't going to pass the ball, but they were able to rush for all the yardage they wanted. And then we also saw Philadelphia last week show that they can absolutely destroy a team that they're supposed to destroy, and a team like Pittsburgh, who traditionally, Mike Tomlin, a very well-coached team, a big points deficit for a spread, they're supposed to cover that kind of number. Pittsburgh never gets blown out in games like that. The Eagles just went in there and said, no, we're better than you. We're going to just go nuts. We're going to pass the ball. We're going to put up big scores, and there's nothing you can do about it because our defense is really mean as well. So it's a huge number, 13 points, but I still think Philadelphia covers that comfortably going away.
Yeah, it is going to be really interesting. Some of these Thursday night football games, I'm like, what is going on right now with some of these games? I'm like, stop putting the Broncos in prime time. Let's figure things out. They played the two teams that were orange for Halloween. I feel like they did that on purpose yesterday with the Bengals.
I didn't realize that.
I'm just
You're
saying,
right, they did.
No,
and the game
seriously,
was in Cleveland.
they're like, it's like
all
the
kinds of
subtle
clowns
things that
and
are
shit
going on
in the stands.
Yeah, what about the Panthers? Because they're a train wreck, but they looked somewhat decent this past week.
They did.
There are train wrecks, Sam.
The Panthers are not good, but they have a pretty good defense that can show up in any given day. And look, PJ Walker has produced stuff from this offense that didn't look like it was possible to produce. I mean, he is averaging significantly more big plays, more yards, more everything than Baker Mayfield. And Baker Mayfield actually has a history of playing well. PJ Walker doesn't. I mean, PJ Walker has come out of nowhere, even in, was it the XFL or the AAF, whichever defunct league he was in that he got
XFL,
the MVP of? Yeah, I don't think he was even that good in that league. He had a bunch of splash plays, but he was like the 5th graded quarterback in that league by PFF when we graded that league. Yeah. PJ Walker looks different now than he did in at Temple in college, in the AAF or the XFL, whichever. The preseason, he's a different guy over the last 2 weeks.
Got rid of Matt Rule.
Maybe
he's feeling good now.
Maybe it's just a 2-week thing, right? Maybe it disappears and PJ Walker turns back into a pumpkin. But if he doesn't, that's a big number for Carolina to get anywhere near in this game, and I think they can hang within that.
I love it.
I agree.
I love it, Sam. Thank you so much for coming on. This has been awesome. Week 8. We're moving on to week 9. Best of luck with your bets this weekend. You guys can find him on Twitter at PFF Sam. Thanks so much for coming on and giving us your bets and your insight.
Thanks, guys. Take it easy.
Great job,
You
Sam.
too. Have a great week.
Stuff, buddy.
He's a PFF NFL pod host, and you can find him on Twitter at PFF_Sam, Sam Monson. All right, let's talk about Superbook Sports, Gerard, because Let's Bet It is presented by none other than Superbook Sports. Make sure to go to superbook.com or download the app today. And this season, we're all rooting for safeties. That is because Superbook is going to give you a $50 bonus on each safety scored this season. All you have to do is place a $100 pregame bet on any spread or any total. And if there's a safety scored in any game on Sunday, you get a $50 bonus. Make sure to visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Now let's head to Pickswise.com. 3-star play of the day. Who do we got today?
Well, we have a lot actually. And
Ooh,
Chadwick Wetzel checks in Knights Capitals. My Vegas Golden. I'm a Vegas Golden Knights fan now, by the way.
I
Sorry,
like
I'm
it.
declaring it. I do like this Vegas spot tonight. So I think the Caps played last night and are without Oshie. That's part of the handicap for Mr. Wetzel. So go read about that. Mark Lammy's got a Flames Kraken bet as well on a money line
Mm.
play. And then James Milton, if you guys are interested, I haven't had time to really handicap any soccer this year. I haven't had time. And that's sad for me, but happy for James Milton because then he gets all your attention when it comes to soccer picks. There is a
Yeah.
Champions League match today that he likes between Marseille and Tottenham Spurs. So go check that out on the site right now. Have fun.
Pickswise.com. Make sure to check it out. All right. I know World Series Game 3 was postponed yesterday due to weather. It is the 4th time that a World Series game has been postponed in Philly. Pretty crazy. Crazy weather up there in the
Yeah.
Midwest. You can never control that. But you're going back. You're running it back to Game 3 tonight. Who do you got for your best bet of the day?
Yeah, so I didn't get a chance to chat with you guys about World Series Game 3 yesterday, which is sad for me because I'm very excited about this series. I think this would be a good series. It's 1-1.
Yeah.
We're back in Philly, where things get weird. You know, it gets weird out there. So I'm excited to actually watch this series. I know we talked about it before the series started that, national intrigue wouldn't be that high because, no one really likes these two cities, frankly, in terms of sports. But I think this is gonna be a good game, good series, and I'll go with the Nerfy tonight. I was gonna bet the Astros. I think the Astros win tonight. I think they
Okay.
win the series. I think McCullers is, ready for this moment. This is kind of, if you ask me, McCullers or Syndergaard, which starting pitcher would I rather have in this spot? I would probably choose McCullers. But there's a lot more to the game than just the starting pitcher, but not for the Nerfy. The Nerfy is all about the starting pitchers. And I like the numbers here. McCullers has been really good. He's got really now he limited sample sizes here because he was hurt, but 7-1 to the Nerfy this year, 3-0 on the road, 39-8 to the Nerfy since 2019, 83%. So he's a really good Nerfy pitcher. Syndergaard's numbers are not as strong. 16-8 this season, 8-5 at home, and just 40-18 since 2019. So he's not exactly a Nerfy pitcher that I would love. And I'll be honest, this Astros lineup is very dangerous at the top. But they haven't played now since Saturday, excuse me. So they've had 2 full days off. I think that favors the pitchers for sure. And I also think it's good that it's limited sample size against this Astros lineup. But now I'm seeing it might actually be Suarez tonight instead of Syndergaard. Check who's the starting pitcher tonight for for the Phillies, because that's going to matter. Even if it is Suarez, I still think he can get through the first inning, and I like McCullers. If it is Syndergaard, don't like it as much. But I would go Nerfy tonight. It's not my favorite play on the board, but there's not much to go with. So go Nerfy, Houston, Philly, good price, -111. If it's Syndergaard and if it's Suarez, shouldn't matter, but McCullers should get the job done for us.
Yeah, to be honest with you, the day of rest almost gives the Phillies pitching staff a little bit of a leg up, just having that
I
extra
agree.
day to be able to go through the rotation. So it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of this series plays out, tied at 1-1, Game 3 in Philly tonight. Jared's got the Nerfy. I am in New York right now because the Hawks take on the Knicks tomorrow. And so I thought, why not bet on a game that's going on at MSG tonight? The Flyers are in town, taking on the New York Rangers. I'm taking it back to the ice with the Rangers puck line at +104. The New York Rangers, they've been kind of confusing to me this season. They started it off 3-1, basically 3-1, then lost 4 straight, and now have won their last 2 back-to-back road games. They're finally back at MSG, coming off of those 2 back-to-back wins on the road. They have some momentum right now. And for me, the Philadelphia Flyers have been kind of exceeding expectations that were set for them this season. This is a rivalry matchup. It's the first time they're playing this season. Last year, the Rangers won 3 of their 4 head-to-head matchups. And this year, they need to really pick things up, especially on the defensive end. They're making those little mistakes, and it's leading to other teams' goals. I feel like this back-to-back that they're coming off of on the road, the wins, they figured it out offensively. They scored 9 goals combined in those 2 games. It's just on the defensive side. They need to tighten it up and make sure to limit the other team's opportunities. The Rangers' power play is also kind of finding their groove at this point. And the reason why the Flyers have been so good this season is because of one guy and one guy only. And his name is Carter Hart, and he's playing in between the pipes. He's holding the team together right now. 5-0-1 record on the year, 2.31 goals against average, 938 save percentage. But his numbers have not necessarily been lights out at MSG, which I'm kind of leaning on right now. 3.92 goals against average in his career at Madison Square Garden. Igor Shesterkin on the other side, though, not the best start to the season, but he's kind of locked it up a little bit between the pipes. 2.55 goals against average, 913 save percentage. I don't know 100% if he's going to be playing tonight. I think he will. Everyone's saying, oh, he might need rest after playing the back-to-back. Well, he had yesterday to rest at that point. He had 1 day of rest. I think he's going to be back on the ice tonight playing against the Flyers. Even if he's not, his backup hasn't been great this season. But you know what? Halak all he can do is improve at this point. I think he's 0-3-0 to start the season. Can't get much worse than that. So why not at home, riding the momentum of back-to-back road wins, taking their puck line. They're going to win because there's not really much value on their money line, and I don't like the Flyers. I can't see an edge there. Rangers back at home, puck line plus 104 in New York. Lock it up. That's it for us today, guys. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to Pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. Jared Smith, Lauren Jabara. Happy November, you guys. 2 months left in 2020. It is crazy. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Let's get it. Let's bet it.